thanks everybody for joining. Again, my name is Jillian. Hopefully that you start to recognize some of our faces now that we've been doing this for, gosh, almost a year now. We've been running our STEM Wednesdays. So we have a short STEM Wednesday for you today. It's going to be all about prepping for summer break. So just simple things that you can do, ways to properly store your equipment, some important announcements that we're going to talk about. And then I've got some experiments and activities for you to do over the summer. And then we're going to talk about some resources that we have for prepping for next school year. Okay. And make sure that I can see the chat in case there's any questions. There we go. Thank you, Hannah, for adding that link in there. So this link is just to give us some feedback on what time you think we should do STEM Wednesdays next year. If the afternoon works, great. Like don't change anything. Just let us know that. If you'd rather see it done in the morning, just let us know. We're open to feedback. We don't know until you tell us. So just let us know whatever works best for you. Okay, so let's talk about storing your equipment. So for the 3D printer, it's not best to leave the filament in it all summer long. You definitely want to unload that filament and pull that spool completely out of your 3D printer. And then store that filament in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag. That's going to help preserve the life of your filament. Make sure that it doesn't break off into your machine, leading you to more problems. So it's always best to just unload the filament, store it properly. And then you're going to want to power down your printer, which I'm sure you knew, but it's also recommended to unplug your 3D printer. Just in case there's any kind of power surges, you may want to just have it unplugged. And then also with the 3D printer, it may be safer to store it away from the windows. Not that there's any environmental reasons, but you just may not want people to be able to see inside an empty school and see very expensive equipment. So just a suggestion. All right, so the lab disk and probe storage. So you want to organize all of your lab disk accessories before you go home for the summer. That way they're ready to go for you as soon as you get back to school in the fall. You want to make sure that those probes are stored properly, especially the pH probe. So don't leave it out. Make sure that it stays in that neutralizing solution, and then it will prolong the life of the pH probe as well. And then lastly, make sure that you're storing those lab disks in a secure location, preferably a room that would lock. We know that this equipment can get pretty pricey, so just make sure that you're storing it in a secure location so there's no issues over summer. Okay, so let's talk about some summer activities that you can do. So a few things that we have on my STEM kits. We have a brand new lesson on soil types and pH. So here your students or whoever you're working with over the summer, they may explore different types of soil, such as sandy soil, loamy soil, and then compare how that soil compares to other ones. So what kind of water is it retaining? What kind of foods would grow best in that type of soil? What nutrients does it already have? What nutrients does it need? And then there's also some 3D printed parts that you can use in conjunction with that lesson from the Civ kit as well. So, all right, if you have a lab disk, another good activity to do is a walk through the city. This is a great one because we all know it gets very humid over the summer. And it's a great one for students to be able to compare humidity versus temperature. Notice the similarities, notice the differences. When I was doing research for this particular STEM Wednesday, I did find quite a few, coding camps that were available like free of charge for students. Some of them have already filled up, so just keep that in mind. But some really great ones that I saw was on code.org and then Girls Who Code, and Scratch is always a great one for students. A lot of students are already familiar with Scratch, and they can just practice using their block-based coding with all three of those platforms. So each of them have a few different resources. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for. So just really dive in and see what works best for you. Now, the nature scavenger hunt is something my nieces beg me to do pretty much anytime we're just hanging out outside. And so I'll give them little challenges and things for them to go find in nature. So some of the things that I have them typically find are 3 to 4 different colored flowers. So they'll go find the different colored flowers, bring them back to me. I'll give them their next task. The next one is different shaped leaves. Okay, I might do a few leaves from this bush, a few leaves from this tree, just so that they're thinking about making observations about the shapes of the leaves. I will also have them find pine cones. Those are pretty easy to find. Challenging one would be a mushroom. Sometimes they can find them easily, sometimes they can't. And the kids love cicada shells. They love collecting those cicada shells. So this is a really great one to just get them engaged, get them outside, get them excited. And if you need, 5 minutes alone, you can always ask them to find a 4-leaf clover. So there's that in there as well. All right, Hannah said it's a great idea for practice counting and qualifying words for your younger students. Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a great way to practice counting and then thinking about some of those keywords as well. Okay, so let's talk about let's say it's raining outside over the summer and you don't have much to do outside. So what can you do inside? One of my favorite activities to always do with students was a Rube Goldberg project. And so we would have students use simple machines and build different ideas. And I recently discovered that you can build your own Rube Goldberg invention inside Tinkercad. So this screenshot is actually a Tinkercad screenshot straight from Tinkercad. And they have a full tutorial about how to build a Rube Goldberg invention. So all of Tinkercad's tutorials are free. So that's an easy way to fill time. And if you need a good resource to introduce Rube Goldberg to your children, to your students, I love, love, love this music video by OK Go called This Too Shall Pass. I used to use this all the time at school, but it's a long music video of just one gigantic Rube Goldberg invention. So it's a really, really great one and the kids will like it. Okay. All right, so I know for me personally, I always took about 2 weeks to myself and did absolutely nothing for planning wise. And then the rest of the summer, I was always in the headspace of, all right, so I need to start planning out my year, planning out my pacing guide, all that sort of things. So I wanted to show you some resources that you can find. So these are actually both on my STEM kits. So one is our pathways, and this is more or less a pacing guide to just help you work through some of those lesson plans. So there's about 500 lesson plans to look at on my STEM kits. So if you utilize these curriculum pathways, it's going to break it down in a much, much easier fashion to manage. So the other one that I like to point out is the lesson plan library. Now, the lesson plan library is first broken down by grade, and then it's broken down, it's alphabetized after that. So the thing I like about this is it's all in one document, all one PDF, and you can just filter by the standard that you're looking for, filter by keywords. And so it makes it nice and easy to see, okay, these are all of the lessons that will address this particular standard. And then if you are like me and you enjoy spreadsheets, then you might also like the next one that we have. So this one is our curriculum library by topics, and this comes in an Excel spreadsheet. And I really like this one because it breaks down the specific strand of either science or math, technology that you're learning, and then it will show you what lesson plans apply to that specific content area. And that's just nice because it gives you options, okay? You don't have to just do one particular My STEM kit to teach that lesson. Here, you're seeing an entire list of everything that will address that standard. And another resource I'd like to point out is our STEM Wednesday library. So on our Mimeo STEM YouTube channel, you can find a playlist called STEM Wednesdays. And that's going to have a video of every STEM Wednesday that we've done. And it will be saved on there. You can view the video, you can see the resources, and it will just help give you some ideas. Now, keep in mind that some of these videos are student friendly. So you may want to look through some of these videos in preparation for what resources you could use in the classroom next year. So for example, the Tinkercad tutorials are all student friendly, and those would be a great way to get kids interested and also teach them how to use Tinkercad. Okay, and if you have not already signed up for My STEM Kits and you'd like to see it a little bit more in depth, you can go to mystemkits.com and click on register activation code. Use this code MSKDEMOJillian to get signed up for an extended trial, but please note that the MSK and the J are all capitalized. It is a case-sensitive code. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for joining the STEM Wednesday today, the finale STEM Wednesday, and we will see you again in the fall.
Hey, Jillian, before everyone signs off, I wanted to add a couple notes for anyone who wasn't following along with my comments in the chat. But yes, first of all, thank you for sharing all those great resources. I wanted to put a comment out there on the documents on the resources page that she shared, the pathways and lesson plan library and that awesome Excel file. Because we are constantly adding new content to my STEM kits, sometimes the documents get a little bit behind. So it's not a comprehensive list necessarily. So if you're still looking for something, don't forget to use the search bars, use the filters right in my STEM kits, because sometimes the PDFs and Excels get a little bit out of date. But that is definitely great resources that we try to keep relatively up to date, with the new content.
All right, well, thank you, Hannah. Thank you for those additions, and thanks everybody. And don't forget to complete that question to help let us figure out when the next best time is for STEM Wednesday Part 2 in the fall.
Yep, I just dropped that link back in the chat. It also is case sensitive, so just click on the link to fill out our 2-question survey, which is when works for you, and if you have any topics you want us to touch on next year, we'll be looking for that as well. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna end the webinar. Have a great day, Jillian.
All right, you too.